Jai Hind to all. Myself Manoj Kumar Sharma, Assistant Professor in Computer Science and Engineering Department from Akgec Engineering College, Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. Today we will discuss a topic belong to software engineering, and my topic is software development life cycle. Waterfall model, iterative waterfall model and prototype model. Basically, software development life cycle is a framework, and from this framework we can easily develop any softwares. This is the base model of the software engineering. Now, introduction of software development life cycles. The software development life cycle is a structured framework used by software organizations to design, develop and test high quality softwares. It defines the entire process of software productions from the initial state to the final states and deployment and maintenance. The main goal of the SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle, is to produce high quality softwares that meets all the requirements. Those are decided by the customers in the initial phases. So, customer expectations reach completion within the time and cost estimate and in efficient manners. So, this is the basic introduction of the software development life cycles. Now, what is the purpose of SDLC? Why we are using the SDLC software development life cycles? Basically, it helps to understand entire process, because of all the software engineering process work in a sequential manner, phase by phase. Okay. So, it is entire process understandable in a sequential manner and easily phases, and force a structured approach to a developments, because it is a optimization approach used according to the customer requirements. We can use different type of software development life cycles models like iterative waterfall model, prototype, spiral and iterative enhancement model. They are so optimized approach for using the software developments, and enable planning of resource in advance, enable subsequent control of them and manage the risk analysis in the initial phases. So, these are the purpose we are using the software development life cycles. Now, we discuss the phases and stages that are used in the software development life cycle models and frameworks. First stage is planning and requirement analysis. When we develop any software, so we need to plan and elucidate the requirements. How we can collect the requirement from the customers? There are so different methods to collection of requirements. Like first one is organizing the workshops. Second, providing the questionnaires, meetings. There are so many methods, basically collection of requirements through the customers and third parties. Planning, defining project scopes, identify the objectives and goals and identify the resource plannings. So, these are the contents belong to the phase 1. And second phase is defining the requirements like functional requirements, technical requirements and requirements review and the approves. Basically, two types of requirements are available: functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Functional requirement basically how product and software work and what are the output and what are the output depend on the inputs. So, technical requirement basically which type of tool and technology are available, and review process and approval process. Third phase is designing phase. High level design and low level design. Which type of ERP models? We are using the ERP models, we are using the ER diagram, we are using the DFD diagrams, we are using the use case diagram. Different methodology basically used in the designing phases. We use the top down approach, we use the bottom up approach. So, different type of approach are available in the designing phases. Fourth one is development phase. Development, coding standards, scalable code, version control and code reviews. Fifth stage is basically depend on the testings. There are different type of testings like unit testings. First one is the unit testing. It is the basic. Second one is the integration. integration testing, third one is the system testing, and fourth one is the user acceptance testing. These are the four basic testings are available. There are so different type of testing available, but these are the basic testings. And last stage and phase is deployment and maintenance. After completion of the all designing, development, coding, we need to deploy the product and software in the market, and after deployment, maintenance process will be started. So deployment and maintenance, release planning, deployment automation, maintenance and feedback. So this is the main frame structure provided by the software development cycle. Okay. Now we use the different type of models for preparing the softwares. So waterfall model is the basic models. Waterfall model is a traditional software development methodology that follow a linear phase by phase approach. What is the meaning of linear phase by phase? It means after completion of phase 1, we can start the phase 2. So phase 1 output work as a phase 2 input. So it is the linear process after completion of sequential manner phase by phase, where each phase must be complete before moving to the next phase. So we need to complete the phase 1, then after we use the phase 2, like first phase is feasibility study. After completion of feasibility study, we use the requirement analysis. After completion of requirement analysis, we use the designing phase. So it is a sequential manner and linear phase by phase completion process. It does not allow backtracking and permits only minimum changes once a phase is completed, because of there is no feedback facility available in the waterfall model. This model is simple, well structured and easy to manage, offering high predictability and clearly defined milestones. When we start the software development, so it is a big problem how we can select the software development models. So if we have a limited requirements, if we have a objective and goals are already defined by the customers and by the development team, so we use the waterfall models. These are the phases of the waterfall models. First phase is the feasibility study. Second phase, requirement elicitation and specification. Third phase is designing. Fourth is coding and unit testing. Fifth phase, integration and system testing, and last one is maintenance. These are the 7 phases in the waterfall models. Now we explain the one by one. What are the features of the waterfall models? It is a sequential approach. Development follow a linear step-by-step process where each phase is completed before moving to the next phase. After completion of phase 1, we need to move the second phase. After completion of phase 2, we need to move the phase 3. So it is a sequential manner. Document-driven process, second features of waterfall model. Detailed documentation is created at every stage and at every phases to clearly define the requirements, designing and the process of the software development life cycles. Third one is the quality controls. Strong emphasis is placed on verification and testing to ensure each phase meet the defined requirements that are already decided by the customers in the SRS documentation, software requirement specifications. Fourth features is detailed planning. The project scope, schedule and deliverable are carefully planned and monitored throughout the life cycles. Second, requirement and specifications. First phase, requirement and analysis and specifications. What are the process of how to collect the requirement from the customers? There are so different methods for collecting the requirements from the customers. I already discussed in the previous slides. First one is the software development team organize the workshops, organize and provided the questionnaires and organize the meetings, one-to-one meeting, person-to-person meeting between developer team and customers. So we collect all the requirements are need to the customers. So customer requirements are collected and carefully examined to remove errors, confusions and inconsistencies. Requirement specifications. SRS, it is the main important document in the software development life cycles and any models, any software development models. The approved requirements are documented in the SRS documents, which serve as a formal agreement and legal documents between the customers and the development teams. Okay. Third phase is designing. In this phase, the requirements are already decided in the previous phase and already documented in the software requirement specification documents. As per the SRS documents, we need to design the softwares accordingly. So, requirement from the SRS are converted into a system design that can be implemented in a code or any language according to the customer requirements and feasibility. So, basically two types of designing levels are available here. First one is the HLD high level design and second one is the LLD low level design. HLD, the overall system architecture, major components and their interactions. Basically, HLD describe and define the major components of the softwares and what are the interfaces and what are the collaborations and what are the interactions between the components. And these components are decided in the and defined in the high level designs. In LLD low level design, each components including logic, which type of logics are used in the software designing, data flow, how data flow with the using of DFD, ER diagram to guide developers to during the codings. Okay, so these are the designing phases. Now, next phase is coding and unit testing. Basically, this phase involves converting the designing into the actual working softwares. Developers write some source code based on the designing documents and with the using of suitable programming language, tool and technologies. Basically, unit testing performed to verify that each module work correctly on its own. Unit testing means module wise testing. If we have a 5 modules or 2 modules, like we can take an example of e-commerce websites, we have a user module, customer module, admin module. So after designing the user module, after designing the customer module, after designing the admin module, we need to test individual module wise modules according to the coding and unit testing formats. So unit testing basically provide the module wise testings, individual testings. Okay. So user module testing, customer module testing and admin module testings are provided in the unit testing performance. Now next phase is testing and deployments. This phase basically ensure that the integrated software functions correctly and successfully delivered for the real world environments. Testing after unit testings, software modules are integrated. If we have a 2 or 3 modules, like this is the module 1, this is the module 2 and so on. So unit testing test out the individual modules, but in case of integration testing, we integrate the module M1 and M2 and after integration we need to check out and we need to test out. So integration incrementally and testing at each stage. Once all modules are successfully integrated, fully system testing is performed, ensure the functions and expected. Some testings are also available here: alpha testing, beta testing and acceptance testing. Alpha testing basically performed by the development teams, designing teams, developer teams. Beta testing basically selected by the end users and acceptance testing performed by the customers to approve of the softwares. Now the last phase of the waterfall model is deployment and maintenance. After successfully completion of software, we need to deploy the software in the markets. Okay, so software is deployed to a live environment for end users, for customers, for clients. This phase basically include environment setups, user trainings, and final check to ensure smooth operations in the real world conditions and environment. Okay. So after completion of deployment phase, maintenance phase starts. The maintenance ensure the software continue functions effectively after deployments. So developer teams, maintenance team ensure after deployment of the software, after deployment in the market, maintenance team ensure the software continue to function effectively, highly effectively, and after deployment process. There are basically three types of maintenance are available: corrective maintenance, perfective, and adaptives. Basically, corrective maintenance fix error found after release, after deployment in the markets. We need to fix out the errors as per corrective maintenance. Perfective maintenance means enhance the features. If customers need to enhance the some features, need to update the some features in the code, and need to some update and enhance the functionality of the software. So we need to use the perfective maintenance. In case of adaptive maintenance, update the software to work in a new environment. If we have a software and software application work on the iOS, okay, iOS. If customer requires the application run on the Android, so software need to change. So adaptive maintenance maintain these types of handling errors. What are the advantages of the waterfall models? Basically, it is easy to understand. This model is straightforward and simple, making it is easy to learn and follows. Sequential processing. Each phase is completed one by one. Well-defined stage. Every phase has clear objectives and deliverable, reducing confusions. Clear milestones and objective and goals. Strong documentations and SRS. Software requirement specification documentation. It is the SRS is the main key credentials in a software development life cycles. It encourages best practices, promotes disciplined practice such as define before designing and designing before codings. Okay, suitable for a small and stable projects. Basically, it is a suitable for small projects, not for the huge scale projects, because there is no feedback facility available in the waterfall models. Criteria to use waterfall models. What are the basic criteria and what are the basic points when we use the waterfall models? The first criteria is well-defined requirements. If requirements are well-defined, static, that provided by the customers, so we need to use the waterfall models. Minimal changes expected. We cannot change the requirement during the development of the softwares. The project scope is unlikely to changes during the developments. Okay. Third criteria is small to medium size projects. We can use the waterfall models, small to medium size projects and applications. Predictable and low risk. Risks are known, manageable, and can be addressed earlier in the development cycle. Strict regulatory compliance. Ideal when detailed documents and adherence to standards or regulations are mandatory for waterfall models. Client prefers a sequential approach. Sequential approach means phase by phase process are going on the waterfall model. Best when the client wants a step-by-step linear development process. So we use the waterfall model. Limited resources. Works well when resources are limited and need carefully planning and allocation of the resources. Now the second model is waterfall model. Iterative waterfall model. What is the basic difference between waterfall model and iterative waterfall model? I already discussed in the previous slides waterfall models. There is no feedback facility available in the waterfall model. Means in the initial phase, we decide all the requirements according to the customers. Various different methods basically used to collect the requirements I already discussed. But in case of iterative waterfall models, we have a feedback facility. we can provide the feedback, we can change the requirements during the development of the software according to the iterative waterfall models. So iterative waterfall model is a software development approach that combines the sequential structure of the waterfall model, similar to the waterfall model, the flexibility of the iteration and feedback facility. Feedback facility available in the waterfall models. And each phase can send the feedback to its previous phase, making it possible to correct mistakes, error and bugs early instead of waiting until the ends. Okay. First, sequential development with feedback facility available, feedback loops are available. Error are corrected in the same phase where they occurs. Change are reflected in the later phases. Improve efficiency compared to the classical waterfall models and reduce time and cost for fixing errors. So this is the basic introduction of the iterative waterfall model. And this is the graphical structures. All phases are similar to the waterfall models. First phase is the feasibility study. Second, requirement analysis and specification, designing, coding, integration testing and maintenance. But feedback facility are available phase by phase. Okay. Maintenance phase provide the feedback in the previous phase, integration and system testings. And integration testing providing the feedback to the designing. And designing testing basically provided the feedback to the requirement analysis. So this is the basic structure of the iterative waterfall models. And what are the advantages of iterative waterfall models? First one is early detection and correction of the errors because of feedback facility. Improve collaboration between development and for developers team and customers teams. Better flexibility than classical waterfall models. Regular testing improve quality. Faster delivery of refined versions and reduce project risk. Okay. So these are the two software development models, waterfall models, and second one is the iterative waterfall. Okay, thank you.